Sam Ellis came in at Bury. I didn't even know Sam Ellis knew me, and I've never spoke. I'd heard through an agent that he wasn't offering me anything, but it turned out absolutely great, because to go to Burnley Football Club under Frank Casper, it was like a dream, absolute dream.
Yeah. Were you offered what contract did you get there? Was it a decent one? Or I don't mean money, I'm not interested in that. But
well, do you know what? Yeah, ultimately I had to go and prove myself. So I were offered an initial year contract, but do you know what? I'm always confident proving myself, as long as I stay clear from injury. And to be honest, I mean, Burnley Football Club, when you look at that, you look at the history of it, you look at the support, it's, do you know what? It's second to nobody, really, isn't it?
I think, crikey, Chris Waddle, they remember him as a absolutely fantastic footballer who played loads of times for England. But he came into Burnley, and generally, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the feeling was a bit of an unmitigated disaster. What's your view?
I think what happened with Chris, I think he'd been that used to playing at the absolute elite, you know, the top teams, that when he came in to manage Burnley, I'll give you an example. So my first game at home, we won. He gave us Monday off. We came in on Tuesday and had a five-a-side. We were still bottom of the league. He gave us Wednesday off. And that's how it were. There were too many days off, and the players he got weren't good enough. And I think he'd just been used to dealing and being around the top international players. So
he was a brilliant footballer, weren't he? He was a superb footballer.
Incredible. I mean, you look at his career, his caps, he played for Marseille. Incredible player. And
I was 13. I came down as a schoolboy and basically settled in because there was lots of people from the northeast down here. I came down with a guy called Ray Hankin, who's a couple of years older than me, and of course went on to play first team football at Burnley and Leeds. And I ended up coming down, staying in various hotels when I was coming down during school holidays. And then 12 months before I came to Burnley, I went and stayed in my digs that I was there until I got married. And my digs partner was Ian Brennan, who was the left back at Burnley at the time. And
his fault. It was my own fault. My fitness was down. I just thought I needed a change. I spoke to Stan, and after having 20 minutes with Stan, I thought, well, definitely signing for this guy. He's a good guy. Now, again, he's an honest guy. Yeah, he can get in your face and he can be horrible now and again, but he's a proper guy. He's a proper man. So I just took to him straight away. And there you go. That was it. We went down. We met Barry Kilby, another lovely fella. We went to his offices somewhere up in Burnley. It wasn't the grounds. We went to wherever Barry had his office. And then I was signed, and that was it. That was it, basically.
Yeah. And just talk about Stan. I mean, he's such a legend, isn't he, in Burnley, and the fans still adore him. And what was his uniqueness about Stan, Tony?
And it was just fantastic, yeah.
And Jimmy Mullen, tell us about your reflections about Jimmy. I mean, kind of left under a bit of a cloud, really. But I think he I've never really seen him back at Turf Moor, but
no,
it was a success, wasn't it, or not?
I think so. I think Jimmy, to be honest, I mean, unfortunately we got relegated that season, but he put the wheels in motion, because the club had been in a bad. I mean, obviously, I weren't a Burnley follower, but you'd seen what had gone on with the club and how big a club it is and where they were. And Jimmy had started things moving and got the club moving in the right way. And you'd have to say it was a success, because he'd give it success, and he'd give the fans something. He'd give the fans a couple of promotions, and
I just loved the town. I mean, the town was far bigger than I was used to. Burnley's probably regarded as a small town, but where I came from, it was really, really small. Yeah. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the football club. It was Harry Potts who signed me, right? And as a 14-year-old, and they looked after. I tell you what, they looked after my mum and dad brilliantly. We used to come down. They were invited down when I was going to sign, obviously at 14, and they stayed in this dry little hostel, and I was in the Alexander with all the other boys, right? Up Todmorden Road there, and they were pretty gutted, I have to say, because it was a dry hostel, right? And they did like a little drink, I have to say.
And I think I got sent off in probably the first 2 games, didn't I? And I was then banned for the rest of the 3 months. I was in such a bad place, I was on the pitch and the crowd were on my back, and I threatened to throw the shirt at them. But anyway, some months later, Inchy Adrian, he took over. Anyway, he rung me up. He said, "Stewie, would you consider coming on loan?" So I just went to. I said, "Inchy, have you spoke to anyone about this?" He went, "Why?" I said, I think you should go away and speak to people before you say anything or before we agree anything." Anyway, he rung me up the next day. He went, "Stewie, what the hell did you do when you were at Burnley?" He said, it was in the Lancashire Post that Adrian Heath is going to come in for Stewie at Liverpool. And he said, "I've never had so many people ring up saying that if he comes back here, I'll rip my season ticket up." I said, "Well, I told you." Yeah,
So
this would have been in the days when, what was the key ingredient that made Stan successful at Turf? What do you think it was, Paul?
I really, really don't know. I have not a clue. I don't think you can't put the ingredients together and bottle it up. It's just Stan. Stan was a madman, a caring man, a nutter, a lunatic, all the mad words you could think of, but a great man, one that had your back. I keep saying the biggest thing for me is that you'd have the biggest argument with the man ever. You could be nose to nose with him, and the next day he's forgotten. It's all right, Wells. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, right. We're cracking on today. Yeah, we've got to do this. Got to do that. Yeah. All right, okay.
They have kept going, but they're playing more football. I think it's costing them a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. Winston, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, and I know because I'm a diehard Claret, I know the affinity that the fans hold you in, and many of them will have not have heard from you for many years. So I think they'll be delighted to see this and hear you talk with such insight and care, really, about the game that you love and we all love. And so Winston, thanks so much for coming on. We send our love to you from Burnley. The sun's out here. It's not quite Florida weather, but it's quite nice for mid-September. So Winnie, thanks very much. God bless.
Alex, I really appreciate it. Have a good one, and all the best to the Burnley fans out there, and up the Clarets. Cheers.